Have you ever stopped to think that a simple photo can hide it? In a moment of joy, one that was supposed to perpetuate the union, and to happiness, it can carry a message to the silent, a story that too often we don't want to, or don't we see it. You can imagine a very special day. A wedding, for example, represents a celebration of love, in the hope of the coming together of two lives. On that day, the whole family gets together. The feelings are on the surface of the skin, and the records are always places that are going to tell that story for generations to come. It is as if, for that moment, time stopped, and that he was real and alive would be frozen for eternity in an image. And even though the intention of it is to create nice memories, something more subtle is going on. There is something that is out of the look of the surface. Stay with me until the very end, because that's all I'm going to share it now. You will be surprised. A lot of the photos that were supposed to represent the union, you can hide it something a lot deeper than that. Something that shows a dynamic of exclusion, inequality, and that's not to say the racism shown. Have you ever gone through this? Have you realized that at a meeting of the family, or the records of the officials, one was cut off, wiped off, or simply invisibilizado? These small actions are seemingly harmless. They carry a heavy burden, one that too often we don't even notice at any time. And it is precisely at this point that everything is revealed to him. For the back of the picture, there is a story of exclusion, stigma, invisibility. The stories need to be told, to be reflected, and in particular, resisted. In the next section, we are going to understand exactly what the impact of the opening of a photo album, and you realize what's going on the back of that court. That is a detail that seems insignificant, but it actually reveals a lot more than you think. You are going to find out how small actions can carry a message to the silent, and what it means in our society, especially when it comes to the racism shown. Get ready for a reflection that goes beyond what the eye can see, because many times, it's a cropped picture speaks more than words. And as we reflect on these actions and subtle, we've noticed that they carry a heavy burden in the construction of a society that is more aware and empathetic. Every gesture, every word is not mentioned. You can strengthen or break down the preconceptions that you often don't even realize they are feeding you. It is at this point that we feel it is important to be mindful of our own behavior and the impact they are having on our world. Real change begins when we acknowledge such small events, and we have decided to act with more empathy and respect. If this topic makes no sense to you, leave it here in the comments on what you played, or any experience that you may have experienced regarding this issue. Your participation is very important, so that this channel continues to grow, and by taking this message out to more people, helping to build the community more aware and welcoming. Also, don't forget to like the video. Each of the enjoy is an added incentive for new content, because this could make it to more people. If you want to continue to explore these themes and to be a part of this conversation, is that it brings subscribe to the channel, so you can stay on top of things and help in spreading the word of our story. That's for sure. They can make a difference in the lives of others. The journey continues, and together we can make a difference. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because you realize the power of our decision-making goes beyond what we can imagine at first glance. Many times when we are so tied to the routines and certainties of day-to-day that we forget that each and every choice we make, however small it may seem, bears the impact, quiet and powerful in a way. And this is where the transformation begins to happen, when we started to see more clearly the role in which our actions will play in the construction of our reality. The truth is hidden behind a lot of the difficulties we face is that many times we are stuck in a pattern of behavior that, as much as to seem natural, they have been formed over many years by a small daily decisions. These small decisions that have accumulated over time, it has the potential to create a domino effect, resulting from our mental health, our relationships, and personal and professional goals. And we only notice it when it for you to think about what could have been a different one, or when a sudden change causes us to realize how well we are stuck in certain patterns that seem to be invisible to our eyes. The routine is very fast. In fact, this is a journey of self-discovery requires courage, and that's not always easy to find. You need to look within, to confront their own limitations, and accept that many of our beliefs, the more ingrained they can be in sabotaging you more than helping you. This is one of the revelations of the most impressive that we have. To understand that our way of thinking, a lot of times, it was shaped by the experiences of the past, for those outside, or to a system of values which do not always match up with who you really are or want to be. And there you have it, the first step towards a real transformation. It's just to understand that these beliefs can be changed. That is, the impact that they have on our lives is as a result of internal choice, that you can change it at any time. And in the process, it is important to understand that the decisions do not occur in isolation. They are part of a chain of actions, which they feed to each other. Each and every moment of doubt, every fear each and every chance that we pass by a feeling of insecurity, all of this builds up to what we call our destiny. And at this point, we begin to realize that their freedom of choice is one of the most important tools we have to shape our own story. When it comes to this responsibility, we become more aware of our emotions, our thoughts, and, in particular, to our intent to make a decision. From this new awareness, a new perspective, that we can act on our own beliefs and habits, thereby creating creating a positive impact that reverberates in addition to your personal space. Each and every change in its internal structure, with each new decision, which was based on the fact that we have discovered about ourselves. It's like a seed planted in the fertile soil. A seed which, if cared for with great attention and dedication, you can flourish in freedom, confidence, and purpose. And this inner transformation is, without a doubt, one of the conference's most complex and intriguing that someone could live, because it shows the true essence of what it means to be human. The creature is in a constant state of evolution, able to reinvent yourself at any time. It's enough that you're willing to ask the right questions and get the answers to the most difficult. And it is precisely at this point that we begin to understand the impact of our choices on building a life that is aligned with our values and dreams. When you decide to take it to the authenticity, let go of the masks we wear in order to please others or to fit in the expectations of external stakeholders. This is one of the biggest revelations of this journey, can offer you the freedom to be who we truly are without fear of judgment or of what others will think. And in doing so, our connection with the universe and the internal becomes stronger, creating a powerful synergy that can transform not only our view of the world, but also in our actions every day. In this connection, the deeper it helps us to understand the impact of our decision-making is not something that happens in our life, but it also resonates in the lives of those around us. Each and every change in its internal structure, every attitude, courage, and authenticity, the influence of the environment in which we live, thus creating a kind of a domino effect of change. This is one of the greatest truths that you can find, that on our journey of growth, it is also a day of impact, able to inspire and transform the lives that they did not realize. Now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because they understand that it is our choices that shape not only our own destiny, but also the impact that we leave on the world, and it's a revelation that could change everything. When we look at our decisions in this broader perspective, we can become more aware of the power they have to create a life of purpose, to choose that resonates with our deepest values. And in doing so, we begin to understand that true transformation happens when we align our actions with what we believe to be the truth, even if it means confronting the fears of old or face internal obstacles that seem insurmountable. The journey, therefore, is not only to achieve results, but rather to a change in its internal structure, which will allow us to live a more genuine, more lightweight, and more full. All of this is about having the courage to look within, to challenge old beliefs, and to open up space for new possibilities. And in doing so, we begin to understand the impact of our decision-making. It is a chance to rewrite our history, to create a narrative that reflects who we really are and who we wish to become. This is the true essence of the process of transformation, a journey of self-discovery and liberation, each step taken with intention, and authenticity is brought closer and closer to our best. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, for it is precisely in this moment of reflection that we have found something that is often hidden in the routine of day-to-day life, the power of conscious decisions, and how they shape our entire reality of the way, barely visible but the final and conclusive. It is as if, for each choice, there is a quiet strength that keeps building on the foundations of our future, many times without our realization. And in that strength, and when that is understood, it becomes an ally to powerful journey of transformation. This is not only the decision between good and evil, but that you understand how each and every decision, however small it may seem, carries a burden of meaning that is influencing our minds, our relationships, and, above all, to our self-confidence. When you think about it, we realize that a lot of people live trapped in a cycle of indecision, doubt, which seem to be small, but they end up creating a kind of a lock, or emotional. It is as if the mind were always carrying around a backpack full of fears, insecurities, and limiting beliefs, which ends up distorting the perception of what is possible. These beliefs, often inherited from the stories you've heard in your childhood, or a bad experience, they serve as a kind of filter that prevents us from seeing opportunity and of believing in their own potential. And here comes a question that a lot of times it is hidden in the subconscious mind is, am I really making the right choices? Or am I just going with the flow? And not realize that you have the power to rewrite this story. The transformation is, in a sense, it goes through an in-depth understanding of our decision-making. They are more than on-off actions. They are a manifestation of our minds, of what we believe about ourselves and about the world. And at the same time, they also have a direct impact on our self-confidence. When you take a decision that is aligned with our core values, we are strengthening our core and reaffirms that you are able to choose a path that is different from the one in the limit. This is a change of perspective. It's like opening a window to a new worldview, where the possibilities will no longer be restricted by fears and are driven by hope and courage. At this point, we begin to understand that the truth is hidden behind the many failures and obstacles. It is not a lack of talent and resources, but in the way we think about our own limitations. It is as if we have an old map filled with the marks of the doubts and insecurities that prevent us from seeing beyond the horizon. But to acknowledge this fact, we can begin to chart a new route, one that is guided by the conscious decisions and a growth mindset. After all, it is the real freedom is to realize that the choices we make, even the ones ones that seem to be small, they have the power to change our story from the inside to the outside. And in this connection, it is important to remember that this is a journey of self-discovery takes courage. It's not easy to look inside and face the things that you will sometimes prefer to hide in. But it is precisely in this discussion that we can find the greatest revelation, and behind the scenes of our own, a transformation. When we begin to take control of our own decisions, we are also able to better understand who we are and who we can become. This is a journey into the impact of the discoveries of silence, which, once understood, has the potential to open the door to a life more full, more authentic, and more in tune with our deepest desires. Now I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the one aspect that is often lost in our quest for change: how our emotions influence our decision-making, and as a result, our transformation. It is common to hear that in mind, it should be clear and focused, but we forget that the age is a key part of this puzzle. Our feelings are often acts as a filter that enhances the limiting belief, or, on the contrary, improves our decision-making of economic growth. When we're anxious, fearful, or insecure, we tend to make decisions in a more impulsive, which often divert us from the path we want to go. However, when we were able to cultivate a mindset for emotional regulation, our choices become more and more aligned with our values and long-term goals. This understanding leads us to question how far we are really attentive to our emotions in order to make important decisions. And here comes the revelation that few of them realize: to create a space of inner calm and clarity before acting on it. It's not about suppressing feelings or pretend that everything is fine, but to develop an awareness of them and to understand where they're coming from and how to influence it in our story. When we get such a deep connection with our emotions, we begin to act with authenticity, while avoiding reactions are impulsive due to the fact that deviate from the main purpose. It is as if the master of this relationship, the emotional, get a kind of internal compass that guides you with a more precise in the midst of the storms of life. At that point, we realized that it's the true transformation is not only a change in the surface, but it is a process of aligning the mind, body, and soul. A day where every decision is an opportunity to reaffirm who we are, in fact, enhance our growth mindset, and creating a new narrative possibilities. And in doing so, we become victims of our circumstances, and we become the authors of our own story. With the power to shape the impact of that, we want to make it in the world around us. Each conscious step takes us closer to the genuineness of the courage to be who you truly are, without masks or any limitations imposed by fear or doubt. And when you think about all of this, of course, that's the true transformation requires an attitude of vigilance, the constant attention to our decision-making, and the emotions that go along with them. Because at the end of the day, we are the sum total of the choices, a small action that, to pile up, set in our path to the end. And this awareness is what gives us the freedom to be creative in a way that actually makes sense, and that gives us the impact that reflects our essence is genuine. Thus, every decision, every feeling, every thought, and if they become essential components in the construction of a full life, where authenticity is the foundation of all that we want to achieve. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation doesn't just happen on the surface, under the action of visible or external changes. She was born there, in the deeper roots of our being, in our way of thinking, the way we see the world, and especially on the way we see them in front of him. It is in this area, the unseen, and often a silent, that is the seeds of change are planted in it, and if cultivated with care, and grow to be way too strong and long-lasting. Think of our minds as a fertile field, is a powerful metaphor. Every thought, every belief that we grow, it is like a seed which, if full of care, it becomes a tree that is strong, which gives you the fruit of the confidence, courage, and resilience. But, if we allow negative thoughts or limiting to install, it's as if the field were to be overrun by the weeds, making it more difficult for the growth of all of the things that we really want to achieve. And the big reveal is just that. The outside is a direct reflection of what goes on internally in our minds and in our hearts. This connection between the internal and the external, it is one of the greatest truths that are hidden from the start of the transformation. Lots of people are looking for changes in behavior or routine, but they forget that what really needs to be worked on is the perception of who they are. If you feel that you are not able to, they don't deserve it, or that the truth is something far, far away, these ideas will make it invisible barriers that prevent you from any advances. But when you begin to question those beliefs, to challenge the narrative that, in itself, something begins to happen. It's like opening a window in a room closed for a long time, allowing it to light the way to a more intense, lighting up every dark corner, and by bringing in a new perspective. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the change in mindset is also about having the courage to face the truth hidden they often prefer to ignore. It's more comfortable to stay in your comfort zone, where everything seems to be predictable, even though you know that this place is a prison. True freedom comes from you to face your own shadows and assume that we have limitations, but that we can overcome them, step by step, decision by decision. This is a journey of self-discovery is like an expedition to the layers, the innermost of our being, where we find the hidden fears, but it also forces you not know how to possess. By letting go of old patterns and limiting beliefs, we can begin to understand the impact of our choices. If you multiply that, it is not only in our own lives, but also for those that are around us. This is a chain of influence that begins on the inside and spreads it to the outside world, creating a sort of domino effect of the evolution of the staff. And it is precisely this process that we discovered the importance of having a growth mindset. Believe that there is always a space for you to learn, grow, and develop, and to rewrite the history. Because deep down, every change that happens in the decision to change what we believe to be possible. The revelations that have come from this deep dive will also show us that the path isn't a straight line, but it's a trail full of twists and turns, challenges, and lessons learned. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to strengthen our way of thinking and to sharpen the focus, and to reaffirm our commitment to who we really are, and we want it to be. And that's the beauty of it all: journey to transformation. This is not a quest for perfection, but it is a constant evolution, a dance between what we are and who we can become. After all, it is the most lasting impact comes from the inside out, changing the mindset that reverberates in each and every aspect of our lives. And, at this point, it is important to understand that it all starts with a conscious decision to look within, to make the difficult questions, and to accept the answers, the more uncomfortable it may seem. When we look for honest, it all becomes clearer, more aligned with our essence. And there you have it, the journey, the transformation takes on a new meaning, a purpose that goes far beyond the results of the surface, making it a real revolution in the countryside. And in the meantime, the signs are still coming to the surface, increasing the desire to move forward, always in search of a more authentic and full of ourselves. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, for it is precisely at this time of the wake-up call that many people are starting to realize just how much of the truth to hide themselves has had a huge impact on the way we live, the decisions you take, and, especially, in the freedom it can actually achieve." This finding, although it has often been accompanied by discomfort or resistance, it is the first step in the transformation needs. When we begin to question what we have been taught to the standards that we have or that we believe to be the absolute truth, everything around you starts to win to a new level. It is as if a curtain was slowly lifted up, revealing not only what is hidden, but it's also the one that has always been there, invisible, waiting to be recognized. This revelation is like a key which unlocks a whole new perspective, a broader perspective on our own journey. Suddenly we realize that many of our choices are influenced by the external conditions, so expect that, nor were we in fact, or by the fears that we have created in the course of time. And when you understand it, and a feeling of release starts to form, it is as if a layer of self-deception, it was removed, making space for the authenticity which seemed to be far away, or even unheard of. It is at that moment that our way of thinking starts to grow from the inside to the outside, giving way to more informed decisions that are aligned with who you really are, not what we have been programmed to be. However, this is a journey of discovery. It is not linear. Many of the times it is about having the courage to face that which we would prefer to conceal or deny it. And, in the process, I'm beginning to understand that real change comes not only in the external actions, but, above all, the recognition procedure. When this truth is hidden, it has been revealed, and it becomes a kind of mirror, reflecting our own limitations, but also our potential in the deeper water. And there you have it. The impact of this revelation began to spread through the whole of our lives, influencing our emotions, our relationships, and even the way we think about the future. For this reason, it is important to understand that this is a journey of self-discovery is a solid construction. With each revelation, it is a piece that makes for a puzzle, the greatest, the one that reveals who we really are in addition to the masks, in addition to the routines that are in the trap. And, in the process, we learn what transformation is not something that happens at one time or another, but it is a progress and daily fed by the little decisions with integrity, courage, and self-discipline. The more we allow ourselves to look at you with sincerity, to the inside, of course, is that the truth is hidden. It is an opportunity to let go of old patterns and create a new narrative of the life that is aligned with our essence. From this point on, you begin to understand what is the real difference lies in the courage to challenge what you are comfortable with and to question what we have always been taught how to be right. And in doing so, a new version of ourselves will emerge more aware of, more strong, more in tune with the impact that we have on the world. It is a journey of discovery that never ends, because each and every revelation, a new door opens to a deeper understanding of our own selves. And, in this way, we realize that the greatest freedom comes to us, knowing of a truth, without masks, without any conditions, only to have the courage to be authentic. He writes in, "I'm on this journey too. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the truth hidden behind all of that is just because of the complexity of our urban. When we begin to explore who you really are, without the layers and the masks that the society often imposes on us, we find that the impact of this discovery is much more than just a simple change in your behavior. It is a true transformation of one's mind, is a wake-up call curveball that challenges everything we have been taught to believe about our own limitations. And then, when you immerse yourself in the universe is built, a lot of revelations come to you, as if you were opening a door to a parallel universe, and within us, full of possibilities, and at the same time, the resolution of disputes. It is at this point that the day-to-day becomes more and more fierce, because that's all we can find and many times don't match up with the image that we present to the world. The truth is that no matter what we try to conceal, of the essence of what defines us will never cease to exist. It is only dormant, waiting for the right moment to emerge. And in that moment, at the very time when we decided to get to grips with our own doubts, our deepest fears, and our limiting beliefs, this kind of faith, they are as invisible walls built over a number of years, which prevents us from seeing the real potential that we have. When you realize this is the start of a sort of a silent revolution in the mind, we ask all of our choices and our values, and what they considered to be the absolute truth. And in the process, the result is a feeling of freedom. It is difficult to explain, because it doesn't come to an achievement, an external, but to an understanding of the internal. It is as if, to unravel those behind the scenes of our very being, and discover that the greatest impact we can have on our lives is the decision to be true to yourself. And that decision, in turn, is a kind of act of bravery of the day, and it requires persistence and a portion of the risk. Along the way, they also come to know that the transformation is not a one-off event, but a solid construction. Every discovery, every insight, it works like a piece of design that will fit in a kind of a puzzle that will reveal our true selves. And that is exactly the essence that gives us the strength to face the challenges of everyday life with a new perspective, more in tune with who you really are. When we can align our actions with our deepest values, everything around you starts to change: the relationship, the opportunity, the way you look at life. This is a journey of self-discovery also reveals the behind the scenes of our mind, showing that many of the roadblocks that we are the product of the stories we tell ourselves from time to time. The stories, for the most part, is nothing more than interpretations of the wrong or fear that we have been feeding it without realizing it. But at the same time, it gives us a chance to rewrite their stories to create a narrative that the value of our authenticity and the potential to be. And in doing so, we begin to realize that we are all responsible for the shaping of our own realities, to decide where we want to go, who you want to be. For this reason, the discovery of the inner is as powerful as it is. It turns out that the real freedom comes from understanding that our decisions have a direct impact on the quality of our journey, and the more aligned we are with the truth, the greater will be the positive impact that we can make not only our lives, but also for those that are around us. When we take on this responsibility, and we make it very clear, the choices that they cease to be merely the actions of auto, and become the steps of the conscious and moving towards a life more full, more real, more of us. And in that moment of deep connection with this fact, it becomes clear that the road will never end. For each layer to discover it leads to a new one to explore the island. At each step, the journey becomes more interesting, more engaging, because it shows that the transformation is a kind of endless loop. And then, once we accept this, we can begin to understand that the biggest impact that we can make it just this one, to become more and more authentic, free, and well aware that the real power is in the courage to look within and see our inner selves, with all their nuance, complexity, and beauty. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the real key to this transformation lies in the courage to face the things that a lot of times we would prefer to conceal or ignore them. It is in this moment of vulnerability. It happens to the most internal revolution, a change that is more than skin deep, but it touches on the very essence of who we are, in fact. And to this day, it seems never ending, which reveals that the growth is not a straight line, but a spiral that leads to ever greater levels of self-awareness and authenticity. In each cycle, every attempt has been made, every time a new discovery, in preparation for the next step. And the most fascinating thing to realize is that, as we move forward, we begin to see the impact our actions have on the world around us. After all, this is personal evolution does not occur in isolation. It reverberates to influence our relationships, our decisions, the way we see the opportunities and the obstacles that before seemed to be insurmountable. When we talk about transformation, and we're not just talking about the changes in the external or achievements, time-sensitive, but is a true to reconnect with our essence, with everything that it really doesn't matter. And, in this connection, it is often discovered on the details, the routine, and in the moments of quiet that we allow ourselves to listen to our own voice, without noise. It is in silence that we find the answers that weren't there before. It appears as a revelation, as it is a true hidden it's always been inside of us, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. And that truth, when discovered, it has the power to break free from old restraints, the limiting belief that for years seemed to be strong and unbreakable. But, in reality, they were only shadows of the mind, which he had not yet seen, in addition to what you've been taught. The freedom that comes from this understanding, it is an impact that extends to every aspect of your life. It influences the way we decide, act, and think. And when you realize this, we can begin to understand that true strength does not lie in in the control or in the power to the external, but in the ability to align our actions with who you really are. It is a journey of discovery, continuous, where each and every obstacle becomes an opportunity for growth, and with each failure into a valuable lesson. This change, which seems to be a never-ending cycle, working from the inside to the outside, shaping our minds, strengthen our courage, and help us to build a new narrative, one that is more authentic, more in tune with our inner selves. And in the course of its journey, it is becoming increasingly clear that the biggest impact we can make is the one that comes from the inside out. A genuine change, and that starts in our minds and in our hearts, and that is to expand and influence all around us. It's like a seed that, when planted in the soil of the authenticity, the origin, and flourishes in ways we never thought possible. Each made a conscious decision, each and every moment's thought. It is like a piece of that puzzle, which little by little, she reveals the full picture of who we really are. And in the process, you learn to appreciate the beauty of our complexity, is to accept our own imperfections, and to celebrate our achievements, however small they may seem. This understanding leads us to a state of greater presence, more conscious of the impact our actions have on the world. And there you have it. Everything takes on a new meaning, a whole new dimension. After all, when we let go of the mask and the expectations of the outside, we make room for our authenticity to shine in a natural way without the need for checks and approvals. And when we do that, we have a connection that's more true for each of us and in the universe, a connection that propels you forward with more force and strength. No hope, no love of your own. It's as if, when you discover the truth hidden deep within us, we begin to realize that we are a part of something bigger than themselves, something that is beyond our limits. And we invite you on a journey of continuous transformation, where the biggest impact is that we do, as we become more and more loyal to the core. And so, as we think about all of this, it is clear that the journey of transformation is, in fact, in a dance-off between what we are and what we can become and what you choose to be. A dance that requires courage, patience, and a generous serving of autocompassion. After all, it is the pathway to true freedom is not made up of steps that are to be perfect, but for small achievements, daily choices that will bring us closer to more of who we really are. And, in the process, we learn to trust the flow of life, accept the change as an essential part of growth. Because deep down, their journey reveals that the greatest truth of all is that we are forever learners, always in the mood for a new discovery. It is always open to a new revelation, which is leading us to a state of greater wholeness and harmony. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation doesn't just happen on the surface. It reveals itself in his or her ability to see beyond the surface, and to see that each and every decision, however small they may seem, carries within itself the seed of an impact that could change the entire trajectory. Many times, when we are so tied to the fast pace of everyday life, that we forget that what truly shapes who we are, and that is our attitude in the face of these small everyday choices. And this is where the magic happens, on the attention we give to what is going on inside of us and around us. This is in connection with the present moment, enables us to realize that everything is interconnected, and that our actions will reverberate in a ripple effect that can change our reality in surprising ways. In the course of the journey, we discover that the real power lies in the courage to face our own shadows, to make space for our emotions, the deeper, often hidden because of fear or anxiety. Courage is like a key that unlocks the doors which before seemed to be closed off, revealing a world of possibilities that were right there, quietly, waiting for the right moment to emerge. And in the process, our way of thinking, it becomes a very powerful tool, capable of turning obstacles into opportunities and questions for learning, and the limitations on the steps towards self-discovery. With each step taken with intention, each of the decision-making mindful, you are going towards a more authentic, more in tune with what really matters to you. It is fascinating to realize that the journey of transformation is often reveal hidden truths that were so well hidden within it, nor knew of its existence. These revelations, when they come to the surface, it can be like a wave of the light that illuminates the paths of before seen, bringing you the clarity and strength to go on. Many of these truths are related to our lives, our passions, and true to our potential yet to be explored. And connect with them, we can begin to understand the impact we can have on the world is bigger than we imagined. Just what we allow ourselves to listen to that inner voice. That intuition has always been right there in silence, waiting for the moment to be heard. This is a process of discovery. It also leads to a deeper understanding about what's really important in life. Many times, the things that we strive so hard for success, recognition, and material goods, they lose the strength when you are confronted with our own essence is genuine. It is at this point that the transformation becomes a quest for self-knowledge and alignment with our deepest values, the never-ending quest for the meaning of it. And this, in turn, tells us that the true wealth is in the simplicity and the connection with the people we love, the peace of mind that comes from accepting who you are, in fact, stripped of their masks and pretense. And on this path of self-discovery, we have learned, too, that the impact that we make on the world is only the external. external, but above all, built in. Each and every moment's thought, every decision you make with a conscience, and it contributes to a change in its internal structure which, in turn, is reflected in our relationship with the world and the people around us and ourselves. It is as if each and every step that we're aligned with some kind of a destination, the greater, on a journey that invites us to be more and more every day of the righteous, the more you are present. In this connection, the flow of life, it shows us that, at the core, we are a part of something bigger, a movement, a constant transformation that is never ending, always leading to new discoveries and new perspectives. And while this is the truth hidden in all of this is, that the greatest change happens when you decide to relinquish control and trust the process, and the ability to adapt and be resilient. We see a lot of the time, which in the limit is not the external circumstances, but we have resistance to the change. When you learn to loosen up, to accept what we cannot change, we opened up the space for new opportunities to flourish. This release is like a wave of light that dwells within us, by allowing you respirimos more in the background, and that our dreams can come alive in a way that is more natural, more authentic. And in doing so, we become the masters of our own history, and have been able to create a story based on the courage, the hope, and the certainty that we are developing all the time, even in times of extreme uncertainty. To really make this journey something that is long-lasting, it is necessary to cultivate a mindset of gratitude in recognition of what we have accomplished, even if there is still a long way to go. That gratitude serves as a catalyst for strengthening our faith in life and in the lives of our ability to overcome obstacles. When we are grateful, we have changed how we look, leaving you to focus on what's missing and make the most of what we have, who we are. This shift in focus is the key to maintaining motivation, and hope is on, even when the challenges seem to be greater than we can bear. Is this a posture of gratitude and an acceptance that we find the strength to go on? It's always with an open heart and mind open to new revelations in the universe insists on sending it to us. In essence, it all comes down to a matter of courage, the courage to move forward, to challenge you if you allow yourself to be vulnerable. Because after all, the true transformation is born out of that courage to let go of control and trust that everything is exactly as it should be, even though the beginning may seem confusing or intimidating. At the time of delivery, that is, we find our greatest strength, the one that comes from within, and that is pushes us to continue on, even when everything seems to come crashing down. After all, we are in a constant state of evolution, driven by an invisible force that connects us to our true purpose, and the strength only comes when we choose to go to the next step, even if I have all the answers. And, in so doing, we can begin to understand that the journey of transformation is, in fact, it is a journey of self-love and connection with all that is beautiful in life, even in times of the most challenging. So, if you think about all of this, it is clear that it is the truth hidden behind every move, every decision, is to be sure that you are able to reinvent ourselves each and every day. That's the core of it, is a never-failing source of strength, creativity, and hope. And that is, to trust in the potential, we can turn any obstacle into an opportunity for growth. This is the true magic of life, the capacity to create, to evolve, and to reinvent itself, always in search of the best, even when the path seems unclear. Because, at the end of the day, the only certainty we have is that it is all part of a larger learning process, where every step you take, no matter how small, brings us back to our core, to our deepest truth, to the place where everything begins and everything ends, and will always be in harmony with the natural flow of life. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me." Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the journey of the self. Many times it feels like a dance to silent between chaos and clarity, and at the same time, we find that the answers we seek are out there, on some type of magic formula, or in the opinion of the outside, but inside we are the same. It's as if every experience, every mistake, every victory, it was a piece of the puzzle that will gradually reveal a larger picture, more real and more authentic. With this revelation, however, does not happen at one time or another. It is built in the stillness of our thoughts, courage to face our deepest fears, and the willingness to accept that sometimes the truth that we seek is more simple than you think, but it's also more powerful than we can comprehend at first. When you immerse ourselves in this process of transformation, we realize that many of our decisions are influenced by the patterns of legacy, on the limiting beliefs that have been imposed on the course of life, many times without even notice it. These conditions have created some sort of mask that we wear to protect us, but that it also holds for a version of ourselves that is not true. And there you have it. The discovery becomes a kind of liberation. Understand that we may, at any time, be able to choose who you really want to be. In addition to these restraints will not be seen. It is a silent revolution that is happening from within each one of us, a wake up to a new reality. A reality where the real freedom to go hand in hand. Still, the journey is not linear. It is full of ups and downs, moments of doubt, and in order to clarify the gains and losses. And in the course of this journey, we often wonder if we are on the right track, if you're really progressing, or just in and distracted with the small victories and the institution. That's what's important, to cultivate a mindset of the observer, a position that will allow us to look at ourselves honestly and without judgment. When When you can't do that, you start to see patterns before they passed unseen, in addition to the understanding of the growth of true patience and persistence. And what is more, we realize that the answers we seek are not in the built-in formulas, but in our ability to listen to your own intuition and trust the process, even when everything seems to be falling apart. In this context, it is important to understand the impact of the choices we make reverberates far beyond our own lives, touching those around us, an influence of the environment, the energy of the collective, and even the world in which we live. Each and every decision, conscious or unconscious, that is, a seed is planted in the soil of life, and that the origin of the shapes that many don't realize. And by understanding this connection, we are led to reflect on the true meaning of responsibility, not as a chore, heavy duty, but as an opportunity to have an impact on the positive side, turning around from an interchange needs. This understanding leads us to a kind of emotional maturity, and that gives us the strength to move forward, even in the face of adversity, because we understand that it's all part of the great dance of the learning process, where each step is of the essence. And at the same time, this revelation shows us that the truth is hidden behind the many masks of society is a never-ending source of freedom. When you're ready to give up, which can limit the courage to be authentic, it becomes a gateway to a life more fully and in alignment with our purpose. It is at this point that we realize that it's the true transformation is not something external, but it is a change of mind, a reprogramming of the belief that it enables us to see beyond the limitations that are imposed by the fear, the doubt, or the judgment of others. And in doing so, we set out to build a new narrative for our lives, a story that is based on authenticity and the courage to be who you truly are, without masks, without fears, without conditions. All of this is, in essence, it's a matter of choosing between following the natural flow of life or to try to take it at all costs. The difference lies in the consciousness of life, with the wisdom of their own. He always finds a way to bring you back to central, even when we want to escape or resist. It was as if the universe was always inviting us to trust in the journey, taking each step as a part of a greater purpose, even if that message is not immediately clear. And this invitation is in constant transformation. We have discovered that the true freedom arises when we look from the side, the expectations, and we enjoy each and every moment as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to connect with what we really are. In this connection, in turn, reveals the core of a more pure, and that which remains intact, regardless of the storms that we face. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. If you've come this far, it's because I really felt at home on this day of reflection and self-discovery." And that says a lot about how much you value your growth, and the pursuit of a life is the most lightweight and reliable. This content has brought you some insight and helps you to think in a new way. It is useful to subscribe to the channel so you can ensure that you will get more tips and discussions that will help to strengthen that connection with who you really are. Leave a comment saying, "I'm with you till the end," or something to show that you have followed each and every step of this conversation, because this change is to make all of the difference in our learning process. Oh, and don't forget to give a like, because it is a way of showing that message resonated in any way and that we strengthen our connection here. And in order to continue this discussion, there's a video right here on the side which complements this subject. Click there and still am there, because I don't think that you will like to learn more on this idea. Thank you for being with me until the end and to be a part of this exchange. For each step in the walk, it is important to you, and you for your interest and attention will make all the difference. Until the next video, where we will explore ways to live more lightly on the planet, authenticity, and connection with life.